Betty, we're ready when you are.
Okay. Good morning. This is the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board, commonly known as BORCAB. It's our meeting. We are in the council chambers on Tuesday, December 1st, 2020 at 9 a.m. Would you all please rise for our pledge to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of the Republic for which it stands, God. Thank you. For the benefit of our transcriber, it has been requested that we give our names before we make a motion, or at least toward the end of it, let somebody know what your name is, because it's sometimes hard for them to pick it up when we have so many of us talking at one time. Okay, let's start, and I'll say I'm Betty Simpson.
Barbara Hill.
Lee Malsick.
Aaron Woodson.
Ellie Sweeten. Sarah Mayer.
We have a quorum, obviously.
Yes, we do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we have any excused absences?
I do have an excused absence from Jana Holmes. She's requested.
Okay, from Jenna. And I understand that our liaison, Dan Allers, is unable to be with us today. So, anyway, thank you very much for everybody that is here, and we appreciate that. I'll have to check and see about an excused absence for Beth, or may come in late. So, thank you. Right. I don't believe we had any minutes for our November 18th minutes.
We have not received those yet.
Not yet? Okay. We'll get those at the next one. Right. Well, let's move on then with items for discussion. Number 1, department report and updates.
I'll start with the department report. This is Sarah Mayer. We all have the memo here attached. I will give an update for the last few weeks. We hosted our senior luncheon. It was a small group this year. We had 9 participants. We were socially distanced. We ate outside. Masks were required. We had just had 2 staff out there serving food, so it was we followed all the CDC guidelines, and everyone in attendance was very happy to have some socialization during the holiday. This week we are also hosting a lifeguard certification class for a few of our new staff members. So that is a 24-hour course over 3 days, beginning tomorrow. Yes, it'll be a little chilly for them. We also had a Thanksgiving Fun Day camp for our youth program. We had a total of 9 kids. It was also a little smaller, which is it's pretty normal for the Thanksgiving break, as I believe a lot of people are with their families and things of that nature. Weight room is still going very steady. We're always looking if there's a possibility to, move hours around, but all of our attendees are happy with the hours that we have in the reservation system currently. I believe last meeting I mentioned that Millie was starting. We also, she is our recreation supervisor. Her first day was Monday of last week. So this will be her first full week with us.
What's her name? I'm sorry.
Amelia Mallet.
Amelia?
Yes, but we call her Millie. We also recently onboarded a new youth and teen program coordinator who was previously a part-time recreation aide, Jimmy D'Amelia. He's been with Bay Oaks close to, I believe, 7 years or so. He's has a strong background with us helping with the sports and with the kids, so we're very excited to have him on board, and I know the kiddos are as well. Happy to answer any questions if you guys have regarding the department update.
Is she working under you, Sarah? Is that, what is the...
Correct. So Dominic Earhart was previously in that position. So Dominic
Yeah, oh,
Earhart,
okay,
yes.
right, yes,
Yep.
okay. So that position finally has been filled then?
Yes,
Okay,
so
after all
we're-
this time.
Okay.
We're good with staff. So also today, Allison did just mention that I forgot, we have opened up both Club Rec, second semester enrollment, and then also our fun days for the Christmas break will be opening up this week also. That is also like how we've done with summer camp and with the first semester. It is open to island resident town, within the town jurisdiction, taxpayers first, and then if all 16 spots are not filled, then we will open it up for beach school students and off-island students as well. And that was the same how we did enrollment for Thanksgiving.
Any questions? Comments? Thank you, Sarah. All right. Next item on our agenda is Friends of the Bay Oaks date. And I don't see,
Denise, she was unable to attend last minute, at a work agreement that she was notified of last night. So if the board would like, she'd be happy to come during our January meeting to give an update.
Did she have anything specific that she was going to report on today, based on our conversation at the last meeting?
right.
Going to update you on some things for the friend. I don't have a report from her, so we're not going to share that because I'd rather it come from
You know what the membership is of the Friends?
I don't have any of that, Lee. That would be
I have a question. Is there an initial, I can't remember now if our strategic plan sort of calls for it, but I'm thinking about how the Mound House, the Friends of the Mound House, is so nicely coordinated with the Mound House membership. Is there an initiative for short or long-term strategy for integrating and promoting Friends of the Bay Oaks membership and involvement and fundraising?
I'm not aware of that, but I'd be happy to let Denise know a few of our questions and she can report during January.
I think when we get to the point where we need to review our strategic plan, it might be a good thing to add, simply because if we're going to talk about phases, they will be an integral part, as the Friends of the Mound House had done so successfully.
Speaking of the Mound House Friends, about what's the chances of them participating in lobbying town to realize our plan?
They're interested in making money for the Mound House.
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but they're part of the town too. They're residents of the town.
Right, yes,
And
yes.
then what we're planning is for the town. There's not just the Mound House out here. There's also Bay Oaks and many other things. So how about them participating in maybe going to a council meeting, speaking up for Bay Oaks? These people spoke up for the Mound House, who weren't members of Friends of the Mound House. How about them speaking up for Bay Oaks? We need all the people we can get. Why not them? You put in a word for us?
Should think that she could do that. I mean, it would be something that we would discuss with her.
I'm
I'm
not on
not-
the board, so I can't speak to that. You're on the board, are you not? Yes, you're. I'm not on the board.
What?
Friends of the Mound House,
Yes, I am.
yes.
No, the Friends of the Mound House, again, they're beach residents. And this is all for one. We need their help. We need all the help we can get to get our plan realized. All of I'd like to see all of the organizations out here join hands in this. I think we're going to need them.
I think a general community, all the residents, whether they're
Friends of the
full-time or
Mound House are
part-time,
part of it.
should be involved regardless of what affiliation they have.
Everything has to go hand in glove on each of these.
Yeah, sometimes I think it gets a little parochial out here to, well, we've got our club and that's, you know, we're focus on it. I don't,
Oh, yeah, that's silly because one thing benefits the other.
that's right, exactly.
This
Exactly.
area is strong, this area is gonna be strong.
Exactly. So I would like to see the Friends of the Mound House join the chamber, join the women's club, join all of the organizations. Come to council meetings and tell them this is what we want, do it.
No, there's an alliance committee, which is, I mean, serious leaders of every group organization, Fort Myers Beach, and that may be a great great meeting to attend and get them all involved, or at least let them understand what's going on, and then each of their groups can make a decision as to whether they want to participate, because I know, you know, Women's Club is there, folks, Kiwanis, Art Association, every group on the island is part of that alliance.
And I think Friends of the Mound House is also part of that
Friends of the
alliance,
Mound
but I
House is
don't
on
think
there.
that the Friends of Bay Oaks is. So that would be a conversation that we could, when Beverly gives her report, we could encourage her to also be a part of that alliance so that that group is kept apprised of what we're
And I
doing.
don't remember if they meet monthly or if it's every other month. I'm on it, I should know.
Can you find out for us, Karen?
Yeah, I
And
will. I'll get it.
can
Jan
you-
Fleming
Would you
kinda heads that.
represent us, the committee there, and requesting their,
I'm
join
usually
us?
there anyway for Friends of the Arts and Friends of Lovers Key, so I'll be there for work.
yeah, request them to join us? And what we really need are people to go to the council or write the council or talk to the council and tell them that this is what they want. This is what this island wants. I think this council needs to know that.
That we had this discussion with Denise in the January 5th meeting. Bonnie and Friends of the Arts.
Actually, I think it is an alliance of nonprofit organizations, which
Yes.
we as an advisory
what you're
board
talking
are
about.
not. But Beverly with Friends of Bay Oaks is.
Denise Monahan with the Friends of the Arts.
Sorry, Beverly,
Yeah.
yes,
I
yes,
know,
sorry.
it's hard to keep them.
Forget the
I
two.
understand.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Well, I know that the nonprofit group is very active, and they used to meet once a month, but I think that you're right, Karen. I think they meet like every other month now.
Something, I'm just texting Jan Fleming to find out, because she usually sends, she's the secretary. and
Right.
So she sends out all the notifications and things. so-
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, that's another opening for us, and otherwise, I think that we all have the opportunity when we're talking to somebody and they'll say something about, well, Bay Oaks, and we can talk to them about it because they've just read something in the newspaper that said one thing, and, what are you really after? And it's up to us to educate them. And they're willing to come to us and say, hey, what's that all about? I think there's been so much publicity with the Times Square area, and of course it was before on the Back Bay, and then with our Bay Oaks. I've seen that some people are a little bit confused by all of it.
Well, and actually, isn't that the role of our public information officer? With regard to her role in getting a consistent message out to the public?
Is that on the,
Right.
Right.
So actually, if there's any, confusion, that it's her responsibility to set the record straight. So I guess I have to look back and see what she has reported.
Are we getting it out beyond the town website, I hope? I mean, is it going
The packet that was received during the meeting last.
Yes.
to the Observer,
Correct.
the news press?
It was all stated in that document during the last board meeting.
That would be something Jenny Dexter would have to answer. I could get her to come to the
one,
next
yeah,
meeting
probably.
and.
Maybe they could get my,
One before this one.
maybe she
We
could,
can't speak for her on who her press release is, but the town website is where she always refers any media to get information. So they literally just have to go to the town website. There's other venues that she uses to push information.
I'm thinking of all those people who don't go to the town website. I think the town website needs a lot of work too. I'm not,
Under construction,
No,
so I
I'm
know
not
Jenny is
internet,
excited to be able to change.
but I have a hard time on the town website sometimes trying to get to a council meeting or seeing an old one. But what I'm interested in is if the town is reporting our progress and exactly what our plan is and what we're doing to the Observer and to the news press, because a lot of people read those two papers and don't go on the website, or don't even do the internet, I'm sure. So I would hope that the town is getting out to all the mediums. Because I had a problem I want to tell you about, and maybe she can fix it for me. I tried to put our letter to the council in the Observer. And I was talking to their editor, some young man I don't know. And I told him what it was about, and that it was the letter was unanimously approved by our committee. And he said, "Well, I need committee members to tell me that." And I said, "Well, I'm one of them. I wrote it, and I'm one of them." And he said, "Well, I need to hear from the committee members." And I said, "Well, I'll give you the phone number of our chairwoman." And he said, "No, I need to hear it from each committee member." At which point I hung up, because it's just ridiculous. And so I'm wondering, so our letter's not in the Observer, it should be. And so wondering, could you introduce me to her after the meeting? Because I'd really like to talk to her about getting that letter in the Observer. And if she's dealing with the editor of the Observer, maybe he trusts her more than he obviously trusts this voice on the other end of the phone that he doesn't know. So I'd like to meet her after the meeting, and because we really need to be in these newspapers. I'm sure the news press would be happy to eventually write a nice story about us, what we're doing here and what it's all about. But they got to know about it. They don't cover, very seldom do they cover council meetings anymore because they don't have a staff. News press is pretty well shrunk. And so I'd like to talk to her about that. You can stick around after a meeting.
I texted her to see.
I did send, I'll talk about that. I did send the letters email the letter to each of the council members,
Very good.
Mayor.
I think it's our responsibility whenever we talk to a particular council member that we express how we feel about this, and that's our prerogative, is to be able to explain to them what we as individuals would like, and then what we have come together and had consensus, because I was just looking through some of our old papers where I liked the one where it said consensus, all the way down, and it was all dated. Everything is documented, how we felt about it. So I think that that's important, not only that we're aware of that.
Well, yeah, obviously this committee has reached a consensus. We know what we want.
Exactly.
My concern is that we need this island to reach a consensus. and tell the council this is what they want, overwhelmingly, if possible. So there's no mistake in the council about what this island would like. And so I would like the community consensus join this committee's consensus. I think the only way you can do that is to, Karen is suggesting with the alliance, that I'm suggesting with the newspapers, how it's done, it seems. Enough of that yet. The chamber was here and she loved it, and Friends of the Bay Oaks was here and she loved it. Need to go way beyond that now.
Is there another opportunity to, like we had that big forum of all the people that had input, is there another opportunity to do that in January and say, you know, you saw the original plan, here's what we've come to, you know, get their input about the changes and get people on the bandwagon about that?
I think that we've been wanting to do that and talk to Paul, but ugly dollars always raise their head in that.
I don't see on the agenda an item really talking about this disconnect or the miscommunication between what was proposed in October compared to what we proposed in August with regard to the concept drawing that we unanimously approved. It's not here on the agenda, so did you want to add that, Betty?
Yes, please.
Because actually, going into public comment and board member items
Right.
isn't really addressing this, which is why I thought we had this meeting today.
Did too.
Well, that's
Okay.
what I was gonna ask, what progress since the last meeting? I mean, there's the motion going forward with anything. It seems like it's just sitting around talking about the same stuff,
Right,
you
so
know?
I think when we had the meeting last time, Lee suggested that we all, as advisory board members, lobby our
Exactly.
unanimous decision to the council with regard to what our thoughts and positions are. And I've done that. I know Lee has done that. I'm hoping others have as well, to speak directly to or
To a
send an
council
email
member.
to the council.
I have.
You've done that too, Betty?
Yes,
Well, Karen, you were going
Karen?
to talk, did you talk to some council people?
I did.
What was their reaction?
No, it's interesting. You get a lot of, I didn't formally talk to the council people. I sent an email to all the council members. But I've talked informally to a couple of them and asked them what their advice was. Like, how do we move this forward? And there's a lot of restrictions. There's a lot of money, budget issues that we have to address. And I keep hearing, though, that the more you can address it with the town council, the more you can get your opinions heard and validated by other members, the better we're going to be. So, I mean, I just think we just need to keep pushing. I think they have a meeting next Monday. I think all of us who can be there should be there, and, for our 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting. And I don't know if it's going to be on the agenda. I haven't seen the agenda for the town council meeting, but I think the more people that we have pushing this forward, the better. I did talk to Jackie Lissack to see if she could attend that council meeting, and she said she'll put it on her calendar. She'll do everything she can, because she's behind this 150%.
oh, she is, yes.
No,
So
neither there.
it's getting, it's like anything else, the squeaky wheel, gets the attention on things. And I think we just need to be almost, I don't want to say irreverent about it, but just be in their face about things. And they're all the time.
Actually, there's a meeting Thursday, it's M&P, but they don't
Right.
let people speak at M&P,
They do
do
not, but you
No.
all
They're going to
can
discuss the
follow.
budget?
But they are going to have this as a topic
are.
of conversation.
So that
Yes.
actually has been published. So you all need to tune into that, and then on the meeting on Monday, that is when comment and news press.
Oh.
Did you all see in the news press about the three? Y'all see that this last
not.
week? Okay, it had in there specifically about Bay Oaks. Jackie was quoted in there, and told people that the M&P, have information, them to do how to make public comment, either go up at the December 7th meeting, a town council meeting.
And what time?
M&P is at 9:00 on Thursday, so it will be on YouTube.
Maybe they should see
if
some
you
of
all
us
can't be
sitting in the
here.
audience.
Channel
It'll be
98.
on YouTube, and yes, streamed up. Steve's still on Comcast?
Confirm that with you, Karen.
But
there
I
was
know
some
that
back
it's
and
on
forth.
YouTube. And anytime you all can go to our YouTube channel and look at and listen to other meetings as well, even though you may not be able to, see it live, you can click on our link on the website and take you to, and then you can search for whatever meeting that you would like.
And I understand there's no comment from the public, but can the public attend an MMP meeting?
Absolutely. You
Okay.
just don't have public comment. You
Which-
can, absolutely, Barbara.
Maybe
Well,
they
I
should
think
see us.
I think at the last meeting, Betty, if you remember, we all agreed that there should be an advisory board report on December 7th. And I think
Yes.
are you going to give that report,
No,
Betty?
Lee is.
Okay, Lee, you're going to give the report.
Well,
the
I wanted
7th.
to talk about that later in my member items. A little confused of what I should do. The natural state for me. I think they should see us sitting in the audience. I mean, they're going to be talking about us.
Right,
We need to be there.
exactly.
It definitely can.
Because sometimes I have in the past, not this council, but former councils, I have seen them invite people to go ahead and say something. So maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But I think as many of us should be there as possible. Of YouTube, just go so they can see our advisory board is here. My goodness.
I'm just curious, Karen, when you sent that email to the councilman, did anybody respond?
Honestly, Barbara, I just sent it yesterday because I got praised
Okay,
last
right,
week.
yes.
So I give him time, I guess, because I literally just sent it. Plus, I've been without internet and without cable for 2 weeks.
Oh, my
And it
God.
was just fixed on Sunday evening.
That's disastrous.
It was a disaster. So I was trying to catch up on everything.
Sure.
So they really haven't had any time.
I had
How
one
about you,
response.
Holly? Did you send any?
I haven't heard anything.
But you did send an email to all of them.
And I've messaged people before in the town. I've not heard back from them.
I mean, I think obviously Dan listened
Pattern.
in our meeting last time, and so he's aware of what the issues are. I sent an email to Jim Adderholt, and I sent another email to Ray, personalized. And I've heard back from Jim, actually, right away. He
Oh,
was
wow.
just really quite
the
wonderful
only
about
one.
the
Another
response.
one,
I'm sorry?
actually.
I heard back from Adderholt also
Yeah,
twice. And he's the only one I ever hear back from.
yeah, and I never heard from Ray, but I still need to contact.
I feel like, they're gonna keep bringing up that it's financial, and I'm like, we get that. Point is, we want it to be involved in the, you know what I mean, the reconstruction of it. So I feel like that's what they're gonna keep saying, is it's financial, it's this, and like, we understand that.
Exactly.
No.
Why do
We're
they?
not stupid. I mean, we get that it had to be cut, but I think everybody just wanted to be a part of that. You all who have been working on this for years,
Right.
Exactly.
that's the point. So I think they're going to keep bringing it up. That's what they're going to do at the next meeting. They're going to say, well, we had to do this because financially it was the budget, it wasn't fitting.
But
We get that.
I mean, wasn't the idea all along with what we presented, and I've got my records here in terms of the talks, the reports that I gave to council last year, this year, specifically about the idea that we wanted support for this concept drawing, and the intent by all of us as advisory board members that we gave direction to staff and to Paul to say, okay, if you're going to do the 30% design, We want that for the original concept drawing, not for a new design to consolidate everything. That's to me is where the miscommunication was. And so that's what we need to, make known about the fact that it's not about the budget, because we recognize, I mean, if it's 5.5 million, that's what's going to be the first phase, okay, fine.
That's what it
What
is.
can we do as part of that overall concept plan that accomplishes that? The problem that I have with the consolidated plan is if we want to put in a beautiful amphitheater, say somebody comes up with a wonderful contribution, I want to put the amphitheater in. There's no place to do it based on this consolidated plan. It makes
Consolidated
no
almost became the
sense.
final, instead of having,
But you all,
concept.
remember, we've said this a long time, this is not final. I don't want to hear that, it's a 30%
You know, but it's like a waste of time. I mean, if you're gonna.
I know, I'm sure Holly.
In the
did it feels
meantime,
bad.
though, it should have been where, before that was totally done, come to everybody and say,
So this
instead of
is-
presenting it as, this is it.
This is not it,
We
it's a
know that,
30%
what I'm saying
design.
is, it's mostly,
So,
I'd
we
like
have to backtrack, we have to backtrack now.
Remember, Holly, you have to please make sure you say your name
I'm
before.
Holly
speaking.
Sweeten.
All right, thank
So
you.
there's a lot of backtracking when there wouldn't have had to be all that, is what I'm saying. Yes, I realize this is not the final, but it's like, we could have saved a lot of, now we have to go back and say, okay, well, we want this here, and we want, where in the meantime, all you guys would have had to do is come to everybody and say, the budget didn't fit, we'd like to work on this. So I understand what you're saying, but, you know, you
I
need
get your
to hear what we're saying
frustration.
too.
And I'm just gonna tell you, Allison Geeson, for the record, I wish projects like this didn't have this. I
I'm
really
having
did
trouble
not.
hearing you with your
Yes,
mask.
I am
s-
too.
Thank you, Alice.
Allison Geeson, for the
All right,
record, I
thank you.
really wish, I hear what Holly's saying and I validate that. I've worked on projects like this. I wish that you would not have had to do that, but sometimes it's just part of the process. And I know it's frustrating, but I really want this committee to be positive and move forward with solutions. EMRP got all the information from the committee, from the community, from BORCAB recommendations, and they tried to fit in $5.5 million. And it didn't work. It
We
didn't work.
understand that.
So now let's go through the process, but instead of, let's do what you did and come up with a plan. Okay, we want an amphitheater. We want this. Prioritize your list. We know that the plan is not perfect, and we know that, but it's still something that you all can contribute to. So they were tasked with that. They could not move from that 30% on without what they did. Does that make sense? It's part of the professional process.
I think the
council-
frustration is we'd like to more transparency now, and that's what we're expressing. We're not saying that we want to cause problems. Expressing opinions is not causing problems.
Well, I need to leave the meeting. I just want to wish you all very happy holidays. Jenny Dexter Lee will be here in less than 15 minutes to answer your questions. So I hope
her
that you
name?
all will be at the meeting on Thursday as well as on Monday.
Okay, great.
Okay, so
Chelsea,
happy
did you say
holidays to you
Chelsea's
all.
coming in?
Yes, Jenny's going to come in.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
I think, in my opinion, and this is to me where we had this miscommunication, obviously, with staff with regard to our concept plan, where the buildings were, where Building 2 was Building 3. And we recognized, yes, this is going to cost a chunk of change. There's no question about the fact that we would be able to accomplish all of this, with 5.5 million. That was never our idea, because remember, previous council members and previous staff said, dream big.
Yes,
Remember?
exactly.
Don't
You
think
bet.
about money. So, if this is a 10-year plan, so don't eliminate anything according to how the concept plan is originally drawn, not the 30% design phase, but the conceptual drawing that was given. That's what we should bank on, not redesign the building, but just, let's build the community center, to Lee's point. Okay, let's forego the gym for now, because we only have X number of dollars. And we're going to eliminate the Welcome Center, because we recognize that that's a lot of money, and that's not really a top priority. Do we put in grass rather than the turf? If it's cheaper to do the grass now, we can do the turf in 10 years. Okay, fine. But let's go with the original plan, not redesign everything.
Exactly.
So I think That's the message we need to send, if you can give that report,
Sarah,
Lee.
for the record, and Barbara, I do believe that that was a motion made during the November 18th meeting, that you would like to see a final completed project with the different phases. I believe you made that motion during the 18th.
Okay, and that was 7-0, if I remember.
I believe, yes, I believe
Yes,
so.
and unanimous
Correct.
I
vote.
believe that the motion was made by Barbara, and it was a request. The entire plan for Bay Oaks is based on the original concept plan. It was seconded by Jana, and it passed 7-0. So, I mean, that's where we're coming from. We knew what we had asked for. To me, everything fell apart when it went to the council and this other plan came out. And we saw it and it was, what is that? You know, with no communication. I think the lack of communication is what is just,
Well, and what frustrates me is the fact that we've spent a lot of town funds on that 30% design plan
you bet.
to DRMP for a plan that doesn't work and was never voted on. Now, I understand we're an advisory board. We have no legal clout. We offer recommendations to council. Council is the one that approves it. And, but they did approve a 30% design plan in terms of the funding to get DRMP to that next phase. But somehow, between then and now, there was a huge miscommunication.
And I think it's sometimes forgotten that actually they kind of work for us. I mean, we should be able to
For
express.
the community.
Yes, the community. We should be able to express opinions and not be shot down and told,
Exactly.
no, 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 and just go on like we don't know what we're talking
Exactly,
about.
Holly.
You know, and that is the thing. They actually do work for us. We pay the taxes. So I'm just tired sometimes of this town just poo-pooing
Disregards.
anything anybody has to say.
Our problem started before this thing that Roger gave them, this community building that's all wrong. Our problem started long. Now, I'm probably not going to get a consensus on this, but this committee wanted to be really bold. We would go to the council. Now I'm putting my journalist hat on now. This is the kind of questions I would be asking those 5 representatives, elected representatives of the town. These are the questions. Who decided the $5.5 million? When was that decided? Why wasn't it decided at a public meeting? It was not. Okay? Who decided how to split up that money? Who decided that the Times Square would get this amount, and the park would get this amount, and Bay Oaks would get this amount? And when was that decided? And when was that vote taken by the representatives elected to decide those things? At what public meeting was that done? I don't think it was. So what is this about $5.5 million? Who decided that? And is this council willing to go back and take a hard look at that and say, wait a minute, let's put some more into Bay Oaks right up front, and maybe a few less trees over at the park, or maybe we'll take that extra $1 million that we can have in the loan and use that, put it toward Bay Oaks. I'd like that money. I'd like that extra $1 million. But who decided that we're locked into $5.5 million? I don't think that was done in a public meeting. And if it wasn't, I think they got a real problem here. We're talking about expensing public funds. And they're elected to be the ones to decide that and vote on it. I'd like to know when that was done. I'd like to know who said we only get $5.5 million and why, and what the reasoning behind that was, as the Sunshine Law requires. All of the reasoning that went into deciding how we got $5.5 million should be public. We've never heard that reasoning. We have no idea why we're sitting with 5.5 million. So, I'm going to talk about this later, but if I'm going to give the report, I may start asking those questions at a televised public council meeting, because I don't know when that was ever done at a public meeting. And I think that's where our problem started. Somebody, somewhere decided to only get 5.5 million. I don't know who did that. Do you? Do you know who did that?
I have no idea.
We do have Jenny Dexter here to answer any questions that you'd like. Hi, Jenny.
Hi,
Good morning.
welcome.
I understand you have some questions for me.
I do, Jenny. Lee Malsick. Do you send things to the Observer
Yes, sir.
regarding, well, obviously we're concerned with the Bay Oaks and our redevelopment plan for Bay Oaks. Have you sent all of the information on that to the Observer?
I have sent news releases after every council meeting, and they include whatever occurred at council. So the last time that we sent something was after the November 15th council meeting.
Okay, do you recall, do you know if they have, I don't read the Observer all the time, okay? I'm sad to say I don't, but do you recall, have they had the colored photo of our plan in their paper?
Of the original plan that you guys did?
Yes.
The
Or
conceptual
one?
drawing?
The conceptual drawing?
I don't know. See, since I came in the middle of,
Yeah.
since I only got here in April, press releases until August, I think. So I can't say for sure.
Hey, could you please see
This,
if
this plan, yeah, the drawing, yeah.
if they get that? And,
I know we put it, it out on Facebook.
well, I think we need it in the Observer, and also the news press. Do you send things to the news press?
Yes.
Do you know if they've sent anything on our progress and our conceptual plan to the news press?
I don't know.
Do you find that
Because
out
I
for
just
us?
started doing that again in August. So.
Because I think we all would like to to initiate some stories in those two newspapers about what we want, what we came up with, and what we're lobbying for, frankly. I think the beach public needs to know that. And I don't think that everybody here reads the town website. So I'd like
We do put it out
to
several
saturate-
different ways. It's not
I'd
just
like
the
to get as
website.
much saturation as we could get in those two newspapers.
With your committee, it's going to come better from you because they don't always,
Well,
do not always pick anything up that I do.
Well-
They did pick up the last press release. So it's better if it comes from you guys.
well, I have a
Council
problem
is
with
better
that.
if it comes from council.
I tried to get this letter we wrote to council, explaining and identifying exactly our purpose for our conceptual design, what we want to do at Bay Oaks. And I called the editor, and he didn't want to take it because he wanted to hear from each member of this advisory board that they agree with it. And I hung up, okay? I thought if it comes from the town, they might use it as a letter to the editor or a column. I think they would use it.
And I can tell you how to
I've
send
got
it
it
to a
here.
letter to the editor.
I've got it.
They might do it that way.
I've got it. This is it. And,
Were you talking to Nathan?
yeah, Nathan, yeah. He wanted, I referred to our chairwoman, and that wasn't good enough. He wanted each member of the advisory board to tell him it was a concern. But I think if you.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have any better success than you will. I really don't. But we
Could
can,
you call him and see if you?
well, I can send it through what they do with letters to the editor. I can send it through the process that they have for letters to the editor.
Understanding that it's coming from the town?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Roger about it. I will, because the council has already made a decision. So if you guys have a different view, you're going to need to express that yourselves to the paper.
No, this isn't that. This isn't that.
This is Sarah for the record. Lee, when we received the November 18th minutes, you read that report into the minutes. And then that minutes, it will state that the board had a consensus. Possibly that would be suffice for Nathan, then proceed as you requested. And once I receive those minutes, I'll be happy to forward on to the board as, we
Okay.
always do.
Good. I was trying to
And
go
maybe
back
another
through my
revenue.
notes.
Mean to the Observer or
So the
the
observer.
news press?
Yeah, once we receive the minutes from the November 18th meeting that we had, in those minutes, it states that the board all had a consensus with the letter that you read into the record.
We had at least 3, if not more, 7-0.
Correct. And that was
Votes
one
on
of,
that.
was one of the motions,
We
yes,
had
Betty.
strong consensus.
Yes. Did we have any other questions for Jenny?
Yeah, Jenny, that letter's not an argument. That letter is merely an explanation of our purpose. What the dream, what we believe Bay Oaks can become. So it's not political. It's not, no, it's not political. It's just something that should go as a column or a letter to the editor, to the readers of the Observer and the news press. And
I'm
I think,
happy to send it
I think if it
through
comes
their
from you,
process for letter to editor. Sometimes they pick them up, sometimes they don't. So you've already tried. I don't know if they'll do this or not, but we can give it a shot. I'll send
you
it
please?
through the process that it's coming from you, though. It's not coming from the town.
it's coming from the town's advisory committee.
Correct.
The
That's how
volunteers
I
on the
did.
town advisory committee, the people that the council appointed to do the job.
Is your, because they'll ask me for your contact information. Is it okay for me to put that on there when I do the form out?
Well, Nathan already knows, I talked to him, and he wanted every member of the, I think that's ridiculous.
What about if we put all of our contact information on there? What about if we put all of our names
That'd be
and
great.
phone numbers so
Let's do
that
that.
if there's any question, you can
Let's do
contact
that.
any one
Can
of us.
you pass it around to the?
Absolutely.
Everybody just put
I
their,
want your
understand.
address and, but I don't think they'll print.
No, they don't.
email addresses.
If you just give it all to me, email, phone, and address, home address.
Also, a matter of public record was a report that I gave in August to the town council on behalf of the advisory board, if you remember. It was August 17th, and it was given to the mayor and town council and staff. And it went on to say about what our vision was. Like pieces of a puzzle, we drew up a rough site plan, DRMP, finalized that plan into a conceptual drawing. We said, I give this report to you today, council members, to ask your support to bring this vision to reality. It is a quality of life amenity that the residents of our island deserve. We recognize that this is a legacy project for current and future generations that will no doubt happen in phases, but please let us begin. And so that's also a matter of public record. And what I understood was that the council thought that was a great idea. They agreed with us.
Exactly.
That they understood it was a legacy project and it's going to happen in phases, but the vision that this conceptual drawing was given to us, which is what we approved, we said this is what we want, didn't happen. So that's, I guess maybe hopefully that'll be the conversation that we'll be having with when we listen to council at the M&P meeting. And hopefully at the council, December 7th, is that what it is? The council meeting, December 7th.
You guys already have a time set up with council?
Oh, that's the normal council meeting. That was another question I had.
Oh, you're just.
Sarah, for the record, if you're still going to give your update, Lee, I believe in that update you request to then set up a joint session or joint meeting with council.
Well, I've invited them to do that. Was that done yet?
I've sent your update on to the clerk's office to be included into the December 7th agenda. When you give your update, then you can request it during that time, and then I'll work with council and the clerk's office to set up a joint meeting as if they wish. Barbara? Have any other questions for Jenny? I know she's a busy lady.
Oh, thank you,
Jenny,
Jenny.
thank you for coming
We
in.
appreciate your coming in.
Wait for the,
Thank you.
sheet.
Thank you.
So here's another question for everyone. Kind of have an open invitation with Beach Talk Radio to be on their Saturday morning show, anyone and everyone who is interested. And I'm just thinking the more we can get this out there and, you know, obviously being respectful, being positive, not pointing fingers or anything like that, but just for them to hear. And I mean, there's a lot of followers on Beach Talk Radio. And I think the timing of this Saturday's show before the town council meeting on Monday, and we can literally ask, solicit anyone in the town who has an interest in doing this to please attend the town council meeting. I mean, just like we did with safety, just like we did with the nuisance abatement board, and just like we did with Margaritaville, and people come to the meetings because, you know, they're interested. They want something to happen. They want something different to happen. So, you know, we have an open invitation for that, and all we have to do is give Ed Ryan the word and say, you know, we will be there, who will be there, whatever, and he will open the floodgates for us.
I think it's important to be thorough when expressing what's going on here. Because the town, a lot of people might just hear, oh, well, obviously they couldn't pay that much, so the town just redid it. And that's the, you know, kind of like, not pointing fingers, but I'm a very forward person, so I just say what's the reality. Like what Allison said, you know, well, we had to do this, but no, that's not the truth. You know, there were other ways to get to that final thing. With now, we're just going to backtrack, really. I mean, so
And more money.
yeah,
Right,
and more money.
exactly.
So really, that's not the reality. And I'm not afraid to confront people. It's not called being controversial or causing problems. It's just being real, you know. And I think the community needs to know somebody to explain the situation thoroughly. I mean, not saying, you know, hours, but from start to finish, what's been going on and, you know, what your original goal was, you know, and what happened.
Right.
I think it's important to
Exactly.
be clear because things, even through media,
Lost
even
in
through,
translation.
yeah, things can get so, you know, like she said, lost in translation where nobody really understands what's going on.
What I think is really interesting, though, with obviously all of us lobbying for our belief and our position, and council now being aware that obviously there was a disconnect, right? So in Thursday's meeting, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to be very interested in that conversation. On Monday, I'm going to be very interested in what they're saying, you know, as a meeting with Lee giving a report and us going up for public comment, to see exactly what it is that they do. So I'm giving the council the benefit of the doubt between now and December 7th. What they choose to do at that point is certainly for us to then go the next step and go into Beach Radio and say, wait a minute, this isn't working, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, wait.
Do you think it's better after the 7th meeting,
I do,
Barbara, as
I
opposed
do,
to this Saturday?
because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They certainly know how we feel. And they know it's not a budget issue. That may be what their answer is, but that we know it's not. So, I mean, if the media wants to pick up on the fact that that's not our reasoning, that's their reasoning, then obviously that's contentious, because that's not truth. right? And
Exactly.
that's to your point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's,
Beach Talk Radio did publish our letter in
Yes.
their,
Yeah, they
he asked me for it and I gave it to him in their newsletter.
I
And
saw
they get a
that.
lot of readers on that, I think, but, yeah, I agree with Barbara. I think we should wait till after the 7th. And then I think we should have, Barbara and Holly and Karen go down there and get on the radio.
Why don't you get on the
I'll do
radio,
it.
Lee?
There's a reason I shouldn't do that.
He's
I
a
think we would have
reporter,
three
he's-
great representatives.
Well, and unfortunately,
Ryan doesn't
I'm out
want
of
me.
town on the 12th.
Huh?
I'm out of town on the 12th, so
Okay, well,
if
Holly
it was this
and-
Saturday, I could, but not next Saturday.
Holly and Barbara and Betty, hang up on them and
At
give
the,
it and explain yourself
At the beach talk,
Beach Talk Radio
Beach
on,
Talk Radio.
down at Times Square, yeah.
I would like it to be after the meeting on the
So,
7th.
yeah, I think that's
yeah,
what we're all
yeah.
agreeing to.
Yes.
is
should
to
be a week from
definitely.
Saturday, the 12th.
I'm interested in any feedback that you got, because you're the chair of this advisory board. So because you're the chair, did you get any direct feedback from any of the council members?
Not really. The main one was Dan Allers. Of course, his was the apology for not being at the meetings and things. And it is so important that our representative be here if at all possible. I know.
But like to your emails that you send out to the council
Yeah.
people?
What I've done is talk to them personally when I've run into them, and I've
Okay.
made a point of being able to see them someplace, whether it's on the street or wherever. And it helps me to, often they'll say, oh, yeah, we know what you're thinking about on Bay Oaks. Well, they've already heard from me and from a long time. So I don't want them to put us in this little category that, when we talk to her, we know what that's all about. They should know what it's all about. I mean, this is what we've been talking about. The idea of that we've had 3 big projects now. Back Bay area, where they wanted to put in that building and things, and that, of course, has changed. Times Square, that RMP did, and the sales and things, and of course, Bay Oaks. And the comments that I have heard kind of secondhand, it's been, well, did we not communicate with DRMP? Definitely we communicated. Bay Oaks, our BORCAB has communicated with them. They knew what we wanted from the beginning. And again, it was the dream big. We were never given a budget.
Exactly.
And I understand that you can't operate a community that way. You've got to have a budget. You've got to have form. But that wasn't our assignment. Our assignment was this: see what you want at Bay Oaks, see what you can do. And that's what we did. So I keep running into the same thing of, well, gee, they didn't like that, so they gave you something else. Why can't you agree with that? That isn't what we were after. That isn't what we were looking for. And what we want is that long term. And our big thing, one of the big things, to be able to have the walking path around. And then when all of a sudden somebody said something about having the arches there, I mean, I think that our last meeting, we accomplished a great deal. And I'm sorry we don't have those minutes, but I think all of us are pretty tuned in to what went on. 'Cause, 'cause, you know, I think that our last meeting, we accomplished a great deal. And I'm sorry we don't have those minutes, but I think all of us are pretty tuned in to what went on. 'Cause, 'cause, you know, I think that our last meeting, we accomplished a great deal. And I think that our last meeting, we accomplished a great deal. And I'm sorry we don't have those minutes, but I think all of us are pretty tuned in to what went on. they sometimes see me coming and that's what they think is, uh-oh,
Preconceived notion that they're already locked in.
yeah, yeah.
And see, that's just not what it should be, is how can we fix this?
Yeah, let's
How can we help?
communicate.
How can we, instead of saying, oh gosh, here they come with another problem, or here's this, how can we accommodate this? Even saying, you know what, we made a mistake. Maybe we should have, from the start, just, done it different. Let's regroup and start over and come together and just, have more transparency from here on out, because it does have to be addressed, or it's just going to keep happening with things.
It's not
No.
just our project, it'll happen with, because obviously
With all of
ours
them.
was not the first project that this has happened
No.
to.
Exactly.
That
yeah.
exact same thing happened at Bayside, and so you
That's
saw
the
the
point.
pushback on that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're getting the same pushback with this.
That's the same point.
And
That's-
they want to, easier if they kind of just brush it aside and everybody just kind of goes with them so that we don't cause controversy, and then it just keeps happening, so
But I
It's-
think in all three of those cases, ours included, there's been a ton of pushback.
yes.
Bayfront Park, the whole public went with that, the Times Square, all the merchants are pushing back. It's really hard to believe that DRMP is not listening, but rather getting different direction that is not transparent to all of
Well
us.
said.
I should think that they would want to come to us, because they've certainly heard all this publicity.
Yes.
So why isn't DRMP saying, we need to go in and talk to those folks? We've been told that
We don't know that they haven't
they're
asked
going
that.
to because of dollars.
We don't know that they
The
haven't
bottom
asked
line
that.
is, we've given them their marching orders, this concept plan. They know what we want. All we wanted to do is have them break it out into phases, according to the budget. How difficult was that? Obviously, a chunk of change in terms of the DRMP budget would have to be allocated for an entire master plan with a 30% design.
Right.
So that's a heck of a lot more money than just doing one consolidated building just for the interest and time and budget. But that was the decision that was the disconnect, is that they, instead of doing what we wanted and spending the money and doing it right and doing it
Exactly.
long-term, they just said, oh, we're just going to do this because this is the money we have. Short-sighted, I think, is probably and maybe for the purpose of expediency.
That's why there was only 10 million. And by the way, who decided that it would be 10 million?
Yeah.
When
That's
did
what
they
you
vote
asked
on that?
before,
When did they
really.
vote on it? There's a lot of money
They
being
actually did
thrown
vote.
around here.
No, they did vote on that. They did vote on it. The council voted on the 10
Which,
million.
which council?
This current council,
They voted the 10 million.
during the budget meeting, absolutely.
Okay, and then who decided
As a
how
matter
it
of
was
fact, I
split
do
up?
believe it was the same meeting, it was August 17th, that they not only approved the 30% design phase, but also that $10 million loan for the three projects.
Well, there's a big difference though, but there's a big difference. They approved what Roger gave them, 10 million. Who decided the 10 million? They rubber stamped Roger.
Well, in a sense, he is the town manager. He is the one that's fiscally
Oh,
responsible.
no, the council's physically responsible.
Well, ultimately, yes,
The
they are.
elected official, the politicians are physically responsible, and they'll tell you that at election time. But who decided that it would only be 10 million? I could say that, boy, that's really, for three projects, that's really going on the cheap. That's where the problem started.
Especially with Cape Coral doing an $80 million Parks and Rec facility.
That's right.
Hello?
Look at that, yeah.
Well, there's a lot to discuss with the council. I'm going to ask Betty, this report, I was simply going to read the letter that I've already sent them. I can do that again. And let me tell you why I think we need to do that again. I want it on the official record of the town. It may be now that, I don't know, I'm not sure. I emailed it to the 5 councilmen. I'm not sure at what point this goes on the official records, but reciting it at a televised, at a town meeting that's recorded is putting it on the official town record. That's what I used to deal with as a reporter. I went to the tape, that's on the town record. There's a document, they have a copy of it. So that's why one of the reasons I wanted to repeat it and read it to the council at the town. That's originally all I was going to do. So I'm now thinking about, what do you want me to report? And what's the difference between what I report and Barbara's going to say in her 3 minutes or somebody else. So I've outlined 3 things
Okay?
that I think, if I understand it, we want to say to council. We want to report to council that that there has been on your committee with being left out of the loop on the building presentation. There has been we are looking for and hope to gain from this council a long-term commitment to our plan of the expanded campus. And we can't be expected to continue planning without Paul and Roger present at our meetings. I think that's very important, especially Roger. We understand that they charge for that. We think it would be financially beneficial to you to do that.
Money well spent.
Money well spent. We need Roger. We need Paul there, and we'd like Roger there. Look, Roger's not here again today. This is a $5.5 million plan, and we can't get answers from the town manager or the designer.
What I'd like to see in your report is an actual official recommendation that the advisory board gives to council as to next steps. I mean, obviously, we're laying out the groundwork as to what didn't work, but then the official recommendation, what is it that now we want them to do? We want them to step back, refuse that 30% design plan because it's ill-advised and ill-conceived, to go back to the original concept drawing and work on a long-range, long-term master plan that would be done in faith. There's Roger. Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Keep going, Barbara.
It's actually morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay,
I'm so used to
Barbara.
our afternoon meetings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Keep going.
And that the design, the 30% design plan will be then offered by DRMP will be the overall master plan of everything as it currently was presented back in August. And then maybe based on the current budget, what part of that overall plan can we accomplish? I mean, I think we've already recognized as an advisory board that the Welcome Center was certainly a wonderful amenity, but not a hot top priority.
Not a
Based on
necessity.
the turf, can we live with grass for the next 5 years? Based on the fact that, we want this indoor new gymnasium in the old building torn down, if that's not feasible this time, it can be for phase 2, but keeping the original plan intact, I think was the intent, which is what we approved, which we would like to see the council do, and maybe staff too.
Sarah, for the record, I do believe that's in your original board update that you'll be giving to council during the December 7th meeting.
Okay.
To keep the original plan, which is what we had asked for in the first place. But going back to that original plan, the master, what can be accomplished this time? I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, let's get Roger's
Okay, Roger, could we hear something from you?
Good morning. It's December 1st. I just want to be clear. Staff will build whatever the council directs us to build. They direct us to build the indoor skating ring, we will build an indoor skating ring. They direct us to build a indoor rock climbing activity center, we'll build whatever they recommend. So, to the extent that council, you would like to see something else built at the park, please let the council members know that, and with you all, we'll be glad to whatever it is that.
And do you see the meeting this Thursday and the meeting next Monday indicating what the council's desires are at this point? Do you feel that the council members have enough information about what these concerns are?
Well, I think they do, but you know, one of the reasons why I think, I believe it's you who are going to be there December, is communicate that to them. But I mean, there's nothing that prevents you from calling them or talking to them socially or emailing them or whatever with your recommendation in terms of what you would like to see. From a staff perspective, you know, we'll work with whatever the council directs us to do.
We've given them what we'd like to see. We've given our plan, our conceptual plan. I mean, they know by now.
We gave it to them last August.
Yeah, well, they know I hope they know what we want, if that was really explained to them. So we've given them what we want.
Okay, well, you know, all I could say is tell them that now that in the scale-backed alternative, you're renewing your desire to see, you don't think that we should do the scale-back alternative, that pursue the original plan as you recommended, if that's your.
That's what we plan to say.
Do you think there's any confusion among the council members, to Holly's point, about the fact that this is just a budget conversation, not a long-range plan conversation?
Well, you know, in terms of a long-range plan, I think that there's two approaches. One is to plan out the whole thing, the money to do that, and that's done in different jurisdictions. In other jurisdictions that and then pursue building what they could afford to build in the near term. And as soon as that gets completed, to begin to work on funding to building the next phase or whatever that might be. Not necessarily use up the initial resources on phase 2 or 3 or 4. But it's just a choice between two options.
So when you're talking about a 30% design phase, when they consolidated, or, you know, the conversation was to consolidate the plan based on the funding available, how much did that cost the town compared to if they had done a 30% design of the original concept drawing?
I don't know those numbers. I mean,
Would be probably pretty considerable, right?
Well, I could tell you that a master concept plan for the entire park, real one, not just a sketch like was done,
30, yeah, exactly.
would be very expensive. I don't know the exact number, but it would.
Was it prohibitive to even not consider it then?
Well, I think what you know, when you have, if you believe you have a fixed budget, which I believe I do have, every dollar I spend on something means there's one less dollar in the pool for whatever we decide to build.
Right.
So since the project, even at its scaled down concept, was still struggling financially to be at budget, the spending money on things that to put on the shelf seem counterproductive. But that's what the committee wants, and the council agrees, that's what we'll do.
I think the intent is, when we dreamt big, the intent is that long-range plan would give others the opportunity to contribute, either through fundraisers or grants or whatever mechanism it requires, to say, oh my gosh, we only have this much money to do this, but look at this overall plan, and this is what we want long-term, and gather the funding. If you can't give them the visual about what we want, then obviously there's not going to be any future funding. So whether that comes from the town budget, or that comes from the Friends, or that comes from grants, you have to have the overall plan so that people can be excited about it. So if you've taken a $5.5 million budget with a consolidated plan, there's no conversation going forward after that point.
Well, look, I'm not here to, to into a philosophical agreement or a political agreement with you. It's really a very simple thing. There's two concepts. Proceed with what you could afford with, or design everything and get everything ready, and hope that there'll be some way to basically, triple the budget.
Roger, can I ask you understand what we're trying to say?
I do.
As far
I
as
absolutely do.
the original design had things laid out differently. When it was condensed and the amphitheater is just thrown on the back, there's no space for eventually, if we raise the funds, to put the amphitheater in a different spot. So
Right.
that's just a small example. The point is that
I get that.
when it was originally, everybody worked on it to dream big, which they were told,
By me.
right? That's what they did. Then everything they had laid out was just taken and condensed, without which the middle point that I think is missing is come to them and say, let's work together to, to take the budget down, to see where we can start, to see where, instead of just jumping to, it's counterproductive. You said it was counterproductive. That's counterproductive.
Well,
because now we have to backtrack.
Well, maybe or maybe not. We'll find out, but we'll see. But the point is this.
Well, if we have to go back and redo, it's going to be
Well,
where that time of in
If
between
council
could have just
agrees,
been.
that's-
look,
We all
the
agree that we wanna go
indecision is,
back.
well, here's the bottom line, in my opinion. If there's a will to spend $20 million on Bay Oaks,
Right.
okay, if there's a will to do that in the community and among the political leaders and you guys, then let's get that identified and find out that that's the case. And what I've heard, everyone wants it, but no one's ready to write a check. If people are ready to write a check, that's great.
But we were going to work in a manner that would reach that. We're not saying right now it has to be this check to do it. We're saying let's strive towards it. Let's take it in parts. Let's get this section done. They have it laid out. We're obviously not dumb in knowing we can't just have a $20 million, boom, here it is. We understand that, Roger.
Right.
So you did, what we're saying is, from the start, we would have liked somebody to come and say, look, this is not going to work with the budget. What can we do? Instead of just jumping forward without any input on things that they worked hard on for a few years.
All right, well, look, it's very simple. If you want to recommend going back to the original concept to the council, do that at this meeting and say, we want to stick to the original concept and we want to build what we could build now, but we don't want to build anything that would prevent us from building these other things in the future.
We actually did that at the last meeting as a unanimous vote.
Okay, and what I will tell you, and I try to listen very carefully when the council speaks. When we said to the council that we were going to spend take $1 million out of the $10 million, it was going to be spent in Times Square. Use other money to do that, so that meant that there was extra $1 million of capacity. I didn't hear anyone jump up at the table and say, let's dais and say, well, let's put that, add that to the pot for Bay Oaks.
I think Lee
Okay.
asked.
I did.
I'm talking about the counselors.
Yeah, he's talking
Okay.
about the council.
So,
Okay.
so, you know, what, I think, you know, would you say, how do you know, what do you do? If I were on the committee, which I'm not, but if I were on the committee, that would be my first thing. 'Cause that's low-hanging fruit to say, hey, they're arguing how 10 million got to be 10 million, or who got what part of the 10 million and all that. There's theoretically $1 million and change out there that is unclaimed, if you will, at this point in time.
It could be 6.5 rather than 5.5,
Well,
just for the sake of
exactly.
argument.
Yep.
It's still inadequate, but it's a better,
Well, you get you closer, and then also, and, oh, I've seen, as I said earlier, I've seen where the whole parcel was master planned. I've seen where it, you know, the phase was designed and built because that's what they could do. I have no preference, we'll do whatever the council decides what to do. We'll just, you know, work with the council members, convey your thoughts, and we'll do.
well, actually, as part of that report, we can say, not only do we want the long-range plan, but we want $6.5 million dedicated to this first phase.
Hey,
Right, to be very
sure,
proactive.
You could ask them that.
Yeah, so,
Ask them for the whole 10.
Yeah.
Ask them for 11.
yeah, there we go.
No, I mean, it's up to you all.
That would be interesting.
I mean, I don't want to leave you without saying, there's a lot, you know, I understand your perspective that momentum can be gained by having a nice concept plan on the wall. But momentum also can be gained by getting a building in the ground people's lifetimes so that they could see what's coming next. So there's two approaches, and you
You
could
get
just
the
pick.
building in though, and it's half, whatever the word I want to use is, half. Then that's a waste of money. It's
well,
better
it does-
to think-
I did say that last time.
Yeah, you
I
did
used
last
that
time, so
word
I can
specifically.
say-
I can't believe I did that.
So Roger, the thing is to just get something in, just to get
Well,
it, so it's done, is
So
really
I hear
defeating the
you, I hear you.
purpose.
So I've heard so far two comments that are pertinent. You know, if the council were to go in a direction with that building, one that's, that is, I think Barbara said she didn't like the facade. And I think all of you have said you didn't like the layout of the amphitheater. So those are the two pertinent comments I've heard.
There's
If
a
there are
lot more
others,
than that.
Actually, I think what's pertinent is even more pronounced than that. We're not talking about specifics. I know that those were agenda items on the last meeting, but it was a larger question than that, because the concept drawing showed exactly what we wanted. The drawing that shows 3 separate buildings with, you know, connected by a walkway. So, for example, if the 6.5 million can only cover the cost of building the community center, we want that community center to look like that. Does it mean that we're going to not have an athletic center? Yes, but that's the impetus by which we get the extra funding.
okay, so, all right, so now that's a third pertinent comment that I'm hearing, that you don't like the grand entrance concept, and you want to move it back to the corner around the pool.
Right, right. That, well,
Well, we wanna-
that was where
wanna
we
look at
were.
the big
That was the
picture
concept.
plan, not the scaled back version. We want our vision plan and figure out how we get all those pieces over whatever time it takes. That's the vision, not to have a scaled down version of that entire vision thrown into one building that we're going to outgrow in the next 5 years, and it's not what anybody wants. I mean, if we have to take, and I hate to even say this, if we had to take a total step back and just say, no, we don't want that building, we're not going to have it, here's what we want, and now let's get a strategic plan together of how we go out and we do fundraising and we do grants, and yes, we take that 6.5 million, and start on the original first building, and we go from
Community
there.
center.
But not to, I mean, it's almost like if we could do a visual to the town council of, remember this? This was our dream. This is our big scale picture, and now we have this, and look at the two. They're not even close, not even comparison. So I think
So-
that's what we're actually.
Well,
Yeah,
look-
this versus this.
Well, I think.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's very clear that if the issue is you want to go back to the original plan and build what we could afford to build based on whatever budget the council says,
That's the
Communicate that to them.
message. That's the message right there.
fine by us. Square footage inside can be the same in either layout for all intents and purposes. So it doesn't really matter to us.
Well, we want to be, yeah, I mean, I think our original plan for 60,000 square feet under air, this provided us with 13,000 square
Yeah,
feet
but the
under air.
60,000 square feet was everything.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
But what's
That
the
could be in
first
10
phase
years.
of that?
What's that?
And that could be in 10 years that we could get that
Probably longer than
final,
that, but
final
whatever,
piece.
whatever, we'll do the best we can.
There's a problem. There's a problem I have. I think our first problem with this transparency issue was, I was at that meeting where you and Paul entered the building. And one of the things that bothered me later, I thought about it later, was that you presented that building and that was it. And the what I consider an afterthought on the band shelter where you put it. There was the words phases was never used in that meeting. You can go back and look. Nobody ever said a word about phases. This would be the first phase. And that really bothered me, and I think it bothered the rest of the committee, Roger. Because I think, I'm afraid that people got the impression, well, you know, months ago we heard that there was going to be this beautiful new campus, and now we hear there's just going to be this building. They're going to leave the old gym. So I had a problem with that. We all had a problem with that. And now as I think I'm beginning to hear the word phases more.
Well,
What bothers me, though, is that in politics, in government, a 10-year plan becomes a 30 and a 40-year plan, and that bothers me about our dream of Bay Oaks. We understand phases. We're hoping that that can be well explained to the people of Fort Myers Beach, that we may have to do this in phases. But it's going to be phases, and we're going to dedicate ourselves to a 5 or a 10-year plan getting this all done. And let the folks understand that you're going to get this campus, and we're going to do it within this time frame. Because
well, that get where you want to go to requires two things.
money.
Well, and within money, two things. One is that we're going to set a grant fundraising donation goal of X, and we're going to get X support of Y. Between those two numbers, we're going to have money to build phase 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it takes to build out the entire plan. Okay. Now, I suspect that on the fundraising donation goal side of it, there won't be much of an argument, because whatever we could get, that would be great. On the raise the millage part of it, that might be a little bit more challenging. But, you know, we'll see what happens. Let's remember where we were. 3 years ago, council was, Bay Oaks has to stand financially on its own 2 feet. And some of you might remember that conversation. Okay. So we went from there 3 years ago to, let's get the land, which we did. Let's get the money we can afford to get, which we did. Okay. And let's get something started, which we did. So I think we've made a ton of progress. Now, the approach from today forward, there's two diverging approaches. And from the staff perspective, I will tell you, we don't care. All we want is clear direction to pursue one or the other.
Well, I think, didn't you give them direction when you presented that vast building, frankly? I mean,
Well-
you gave them direction, and
So what we did is, we said to them, what we said to them was that if you are drawing a hard line on the budget, this is a potential solution. Okay? And that's what we told them. My assumption is, based on the way they reacted to that, is that's pretty much where they were on that day. Now, you can move them by your conversations and emails and things with them, but at least that's where they were that day. But from the staff, Sarah, Allison, Chelsea, myself, we don't care. The only thing we care about, to be very clear, is Allison needs certain size spaces to run her programs. They're in the building that's in part of the grand entrance, whether it's a building that surrounds the pool. We don't care. We do care that how the buildings are aligned from the standpoint of not creating some operational efficiencies, but we can get into that once the alignment of the buildings is selected.
I'm hearing from councilmen, that one in particular, that that councilman isn't sure of what are the numbers? What are the final numbers? What's this going to cost? There's all kinds of numbers been thrown out, 20 million, 17 million, 7 million, 5.5 million. Councilman Adderholt told me that there's no numbers that they can grab a hold of.
Well, I could tell you that we shared what numbers we have with them, and if Council Adderholt with me, I can resend it to him. Numbers as I understand them. The original plan that you all going to be over 20 million.
I don't have a problem with that. I
No,
mean,
I
that's
don't either.
completely
That was our-
feasible.
Believe
was
me,
the dream.
I'll be glad to build, like I said, whatever the council decides.
Roger, I think, just from, not trying to keep rehashing the same thing. The point is, there was no transparency from the start. And you realized that it had to be, the budget, it had to fit the budget. Would have been nice to come to everybody first and say, here's the numbers, here's this, what can we cut, what can we do? Instead of, nobody knows what numbers are, nobody knows what had to be cut, there's a lot of stuff that's just not clear, and that's the issue. I have, personally, and there's no real answer that anybody's giving, it's just, I'm sorry, we'll do this.
Well,
We don't want this to
yeah,
keep
well, I
happening.
hear what you're saying, and
I
like
know
I
you
said,
hear
like
what
I
I'm
said
saying.
2 meetings ago, and I'm saying again to you today, you guys recommend things to the council.
Why didn't you do it in the first place?
We take our direction from the council. So feel free to send your recommendations for the going back to the original plan and building around the edge of the pool to the council. And if that's the direction they want us to go, we'll be happy to go in that direction.
What would you have to do to borrow $20 million? You have to raise the tax to what, how much of a tax hike would you need?
Hang on a second, let me think. You would need, I think, like just under 2 mils.
2 mil increase.
just under that, going off the top of my head, to fund the debt service, to borrow
1
another
mil
10 million.
increase.
Said 2.
But you need a total of 2 mil, just under 2 mils, right?
Right.
So you'd need to raise it another mil.
No, you would need, that's on top of what our current millage is.
You'd need 2 more mil, 2 mils
what he's
on
saying.
top of what you
Right.
already have, okay.
It's going off the top of my head. Obviously, there's more development and the property tax roll goes up, obviously, that number.
I think what the larger community recognizes, maybe not those that live in condos, but I can tell you those that have businesses, like Karen does and many others, that Bay Oaks will be a jewel, and as we've conceived it. And that was done with staff, former council members, current council members. It was definitely a group think.
May I interrupt for a second,
It's
Karen?
good for business. These are, where Jackie was coming from. She said, think big. She said, my God, this is going to be a gold mine for the business community. Why? Because that'll be a draw for anybody that comes to visit this island. If they're going to be staying in a resort and they want to play pickleball, boom, it's there for them.
I sell real estate. I'd love to be able to tell everybody, look what this community has.
It's an
Look at
amenity.
this amazing, not some building thrown there, which everybody's jammed in, that's,
You need to say this to the council.
I mean, that's
Exactly.
great for this
Need to
island.
thank
It's a
Karen.
beautiful thing, you
The
know?
picture of the standalone,
That to the council.
picture of the little picture of the standalone amphitheater?
I have a picture of the
Well,
amphitheater.
I
Okay,
sent
we
one.
forward that to Paul.
Yeah, I sent one. There were a couple of them, I think, that came.
I got one,
Yes.
I got one that we
Yes.
forwarded to Paul.
This is actually what we want.
Yeah.
This is what
Well,
we
I again, I live here too, and I would like it to be, whatever it is the council directs, and that's great, okay, and I've been in communities where I've built things like that. And, but I also have to answer the truth, and the truth is, it'll be used 24 times a year. So, there's, people think about that from the standpoint of how much money you want to spend for something versus how much time,
It could be
how many
used more
times it
than
gets
that.
used.
Cost benefit.
But, but it's fine with me.
We have events, I'm just saying, every Friday at some places, where there's bands come in and people gather, and, I mean, I think it could get a lot more, that's thinking very small.
And that's
24
also
times.
added revenue for the town, because
Concerts
these
in
will
the
be
park.
tickets sold. So it
No,
will
I don't
begin
know
to,
that we could do that, but anyway,
Can do
we
that.
would not charge?
I don't think so.
You can
Oh,
ask
but you
donations,
get a
actually.
group in who would charge, and we get the
do
cut of it,
donations.
like have 50%, right? Because we're providing the facility and they're providing the
I'm not
event.
sure we could do that. Have to check.
Other cities do it.
Rental fees.
Yeah, rental fee, just like any other rental, like we have at the Mount House.
Loan wouldn't prevent you from doing that, would it?
Well, it's a tax exempt loan, so there's revenue
Oh, yeah,
implications.
Okay.
Anyway, there's the larger issue, that this is obviously something that we would need to talk with council about.
Exactly.
And I think what would have been helpful is if the council in October would have been given an option. So this is Plan A, this is Plan B. This is the consolidated building, this is the long-range master plan, so that they could have been given a choice at that meeting instead of just the one consolidated building.
Well, in all fairness, they were walked through the history of how they did, it wasn't just, here's this plan to prove it, 5 seconds, yes or no. That's not what happened. They will walk through the gyrations of the plan. So in all fairness, they did see that.
They did see, and
Now, whether they considered it, I don't know what was going through their head, but they did see it.
I would like to be able to ask Paul, what could we get immediately for 15 million, 16 million? What could we get? Community center plus what else?
we'd get everything. We'd
He
get
could
the
give me
artificial
numbers
turf.
on that, couldn't he? I mean, decent numbers?
Well, Well, so just to understand, so what they do when they estimate, they use the sort of the average price of things. But you don't really know what the price is going to be till you get the bids. So I've seen the cases where, the average price for something was $175 a square foot, and the actual bid came in at 400, and I've seen it come in at 100.
I
Just don't know.
understand that. I
So,
understand
but
that.
I mean, they use an average scale number, which is good for estimating.
Formula.
I mean, then you, if you really want like a precise number, you could pay someone to do a professional estimate. They actually go into bids of other like projects and reverse engineer them to come up with I mean, you could get to that level of
Do
detail.
you think we could do that?
Pay somebody to do that, sure, if you want, if you think that's worth doing.
How expensive
Recommend
is
to the
that?
council. I'm gonna say like 20,000, I'm gonna guess.
How much in the overall?
I mean, it's.
4 phases, 5 million each. For 3 phases, 7 million.
Yeah, I think the issue that I'm not seeing you really recognize is this, and that is, council said that, hey, we agree with you, and we're going to agree to raise the millage 0.5 a year for the next 3 or 4 years. Position ourselves so we would have the money for the council plan that you all are advocating for. And I see a path forward. Okay, so, but we could pencil in a number for fundraising and grants and things, and we could pencil in a number for town funds, but will isn't there to back up the town fund part, which is going to be the majority of that money. And we're really, I mean, we could talk about it, but we're really not going to get there.
Lover's Key Resort is a perfect example. It's a state-owned park. The state budgets X amount of dollars for this welcome center, which is the bare minimum. Friends of Lover's Key set out, and they ended up bringing an extra overall $2 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Almost 3.
Almost $3 million. And that was community-driven.
Awesome.
And so why would that not be applicable to us?
Well, I'm not saying it isn't, but the point is that if that's the pitch, then fine, say, look, we want a project of 20 million. We're going to come up with 3 million or 5 million or 2 million, or pick a number from that, and we want the town on the balance. And let's build a project on a $20 million budget.
I thought that was always the pitch.
Well, yeah, but I've heard that, but I haven't heard the people say, well, I'm willing to go over to the 5.5 yet, but I'm willing to listen to hear that. Town council, maybe they.
No, but who's trying to change their mind? Right? That's,
Well, it's the committee and the community.
right.
we just,
That's right. I mean, he's right.
that's what we're
we've been
doing.
talking about this morning.
We're trying
I
to,
just want you to understand, it's not that we don't want your concept. Okay? That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, it feels like you didn't take it into consideration, though,
No,
because
no,
it was just gone from here to there.
Look, you really
That's
knew
the reality.
how much time I spent with at least 1 or 2 of the members of this committee, not this current one, but the prior one, discussing the plan, working on the plan, developing the master concept. I would have never wasted all my time and energy doing that if I didn't want everyone to say, this is what we could have. Now, let's figure out how we can get there. And again, it's a matter of different routes of getting there. We all have a preferred route, I'm hearing that, of getting there. That's fine. It's the council that that's the right route.
so it's just a matter of communicating to council what this, I mean, and you
guys
were-
work for the
you-
council.
You were a real champion of this dream. I know you were. You were the one that really sort of got us excited.
Right.
You and Joanne Shamp, to be clear.
Exactly.
She is a member of council. You, as town manager, said to all of us, let's dream big. And I don't think that dream, it was never thought that we would have to give up that dream. Just know that we had to do it in pieces and parts. So I guess,
Well, I think there's,
changed.
I think there's two schools. Okay, there's a school of people who see that dream and are willing to work hard over a longer period of time to get there. And then there's a group who say, I just want something sooner or now that we can afford. So let's just work to convince more people that first one is the preferred choice.
We've got our marching orders.
So, I mean, I might be completely off here. If it's conveying it to the council, and is there a reason, should somebody be here, or you be at these meetings with us to, I mean, do we just go after and we have to email them and relay everything we're
Just
talking about?
talk to every council person and
So we
often.
meet, and then we're gonna
And
relay
certainly-
it. It's not, you're not advocating for us or taking anything to them. You don't do that.
No. I mean, I tell them what you say.
Okay, because
Okay,
the
I mean,
last few meetings, was any of that, did you?
Well, we conveyed to the council that we heard, and I'm trying, one is we don't want there's two others, all right. Very distinct thing you said, and we did that for them.
I think we just want to get moving along, so to find out what the next, so
Just to
that
be
next time
clear-
we're meeting, we're not discussing the same thing of, we want
I
to
hope
see,
you're not either, but here's the thing.
well, that's,
Council meeting, one, twice a month except July and December. There's a section of the agenda for committee. Come and speak. Do it every meeting if you want.
Right?
Point, and it doesn't have to be December 7th, but that path is, that
Works.
You already told the council the things we discussed at our last meeting.
and they'll have your written, your also, and I don't know if the agenda. will go
We
tomorrow,
objected
but
we objected to the arches. What about our displeasure with the transparency? Did you talk about that?
we put the things that they can.
I think we pretty well discussed that on that at the last meeting.
I mean, if you want to get.
That's all right. That's all right. Betty has asked, they've appointed me to a report at the council meeting. I'm assuming the process allows that, or the Betty will probably be there.
On Monday?
Yeah. Be there?
Monday's another cardiology day.
All right, so our chairman can't
Sorry,
be there. Okay,
this
I
is
was going to
going
ask
on.
about the process. Does the chairman absolutely have to give the report unless they can't be there? In other words, if a chairman can be there, do they have to be the one to give the report? I
No.
was curious about the report, with the process on that.
Anyone can give the report.
Allow the committee, that a person,
Okay.
as long as a person is.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So also, another question, about the process. If you've got other committee members there in the audience, and say something also within the committee report and not be restricted to 3 minutes?
Generally, it's one person. Generally, it's one.
That's limited to 3 minutes.
But it's a, where the 2 point, first person didn't get to, or I agree,
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
the chair, the mayor.
Guys, the reason I asked, Times Square, a couple of Times Square business people in that meeting presented a couple of the Times Square business people were a little hot under the collar, and they got more than 3 minutes, so I wondered about that.
The mayor.
Okay.
But, you know, them, like, all that. Proposal. Or the only suggestion we've had.
Well, here's something I need.
That's only, that's only sort of mind change, if you will.
Something else I need to know before I give this report. And I brought this up before you got here. Who decided the $5.5 million to Bay Oak?
So the way the math worked, that based on our current millage rate, how much could we afford? And that became, it was actually less than $10 million. And so that's what generated 10. Raised it 2 years ago. And what happened was Bay Oaks needed money after. What do we need to do? And then give Bay Oaks everything that's.
Well, I'm still confused. Who decided that Times Square gets 3 or 3.5 million? And
Well, here's the point, Lee. The point is that Times Square is now down to 2 million. Okay, 5 million. Okay, so there's $1 million on the table. I haven't heard anyone on council say yet. Maybe they'll say it next week to Bay Oaks, but
To Bay Oaks.
wait a minute, so they're down to 2 million?
2.5.
2.5, all right, so that's what, you took $1 million off, that's $1 million less?
We're gonna do part of that project with.
Okay, so now there's another $1.5 million on the table, right?
$1 million, I'm not sure, $1 million, more than $1 million, but I'm not sure if it's $1 million now.
1.2 to 1.5
$1 million plus.
Yeah.
I don't want,
on the
I'm
table,
here 2 months from now and say.
okay, it's on the table.
Okay, that brings us to
It's
6.5.
Yeah, that's interesting, I didn't know that. Need to know that. So there's another $1 million plus that we could go to council and say, we'd like that $1 million plus.
Right.
We've already spent enough on, the name of that park, I don't even know what they call it.
Bayside.
Bayside?
Used to be a shrimp dock there. So we could go to council, give us that $1 million plus. We've got 2.5 plus. close to 7 million. I'm just trying to visualize all of the possibilities here for, and it's different from what Barbara's saying, but I'm trying to visualize what can we do to get more than just that building off the ground.
Okay, I'm gonna say it one more time so you really understand. Two, say that we as a committee are gonna commit ourselves to an effort to fundraise whatever, X number of dollars.
Oh.
We're going to then ask the council to work on a plan to raise the millage incremental years, generate the balance, what we need to do this project.
That's an option.
Do that or win the lottery.
It has to come from somewhere. Right?
Yep.
You don't go after grants, the town goes after grants
I
now.
understand that, but we're all in this together, you know, there's no, everybody's in the canoe is wet or everyone's buttoned up.
But you have the grant writer, don't you?
But actually, to be perfectly honest with you, our grant opportunities for Bay Oaks are more challenging than for Times Square. We had a chance of getting more than we do for Bay.
Why is that? I'm curious.
Because the sort of the world of grants runs, there's a hot subject right now, parks. Years they might be hot and something else might be cold, but right now.
We tried,
the grant world.
we tried yet to get Parks grant.
Project, we have to have a project that's shovel ready. What's that you really get rated high enough?
It has to be at the 90% design phase, do you
It
think?
has to be developed there.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
You have to be ready, if we say we're gonna give you the money, say in July, you have to be ready.
Okay, right.
So, is there a different process for grants? If the town council or you as the town manager would go for a grant versus if Friends of Bay Oaks as a nonprofit go a different avenue for grants? Are there two different avenues?
Different avenues. And there's a third avenue where town and friends would go together, partnership.
Matching.
So straight town, straight friends, and straight friends in town.
Then the town itself doesn't have a grant writer per se. So would you be the grant writer? Or do you hire a contractor that does the grant writing? Or what is that process?
So we're on a list of we Allison for her to. Allison said qualified for application 500 pages an hour. We would hire.
We were very fortunate many years ago when Teresa Schober was in the beginning stages of developing the Mound House, and she was very successful in getting a lot of state funding for capital projects for the renovation and the underground exhibit. Millions, virtually millions of dollars, single-handedly, specifically and exclusively through grants.
So typically, that would be one of those places we would be getting somewhere between $2.5 to $5 billion shortfall this year.
Because of
So I don't
COVID.
know that they're going to be funding.
I think the reality of COVID is a hurdle for us with regard to Bay Oaks.
I think it is from a revenue standpoint. I'm a big believer in in ourselves, we get other people to invest in us. So that's advocate for the board for more investing.
Exactly.
But this is happens once every 100 years. I wasn't here.
Yeah.
What kind of
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate your coming in today to kind of further clarify some of the
Yeah.
questions we had.
I want to say, I appreciate, I always come in, I always say, I appreciate the time and effort you all put as volunteers. Is, I with your question. All, one of the council at the last meeting had clear direction. If there is ever a case that stop and take time. Again, I have like a staff pool where people bet on the option papers. As long as the space operational wherever it's located, buildings and the great operational issues for.
I'm glad we made this progress because was it November, the first meeting I was at, we were very much, it was just like, this is the budget, this is what we have, and that's it. So I think we've made progress that,
Yep,
you know,
all
that's
the
not,
options
because
are on the
that's
it
table.
was, that was the, it was just very.
I'm not arguing with you,
It
that
was
is
very,
it.
yeah,
That is it until the
and there
council
was no
changes it.
really room for, we were, everybody was kind of like, that's not even what, so this is great progress, because
Right.
that was the original feeling I got, like it just was, this is it, and that's the feeling I got, so,
Why was, I'm curious, why was $1 million plus taken off the Times Square budget?
There were certain aspects of the project that didn't. We either had to bifurcate the options the council was given. Bifurcate the bonds to tax a portion of each tax exempt. Or to find the money to pay for the eligible the
And what is the current budget for Bayside?
the current budget for Bayside, pending tribute and walkway along the face of the side face of the park. Those two decisions will dramatically be anywhere $100,000 upward.
Are you anticipating that's going to increase?
No, that's within the decrease.
Thank you.
There could be something there, too.
Well, we have to decide what we want to go ask for. There's options, or then there's not options.
Now, do we ask for that a little over $1 million that is coming from Times Square? Or what is our position in that? I mean,
Well, when council pay for the non-tax exempt qualifying items, Times Square out of proceeds, that reduce project by $1 million. council had a mini discussion, and there was a president, one phone, and one. That mini discussion that they had about taking that in Bay Oaks or Bayside. So, what was hanging?
No one's really spoken for that at this point. It's sitting out there.
Well, I think there was like, let's not increase the budget for now, was the point, but
Yeah, well, under those conditions, the loan, we have to use that money on Bay Oaks. Do we have to be a regional park? No?
the concept of a regional park, where that would kick in, qualify for county. Would qualify for county impact fees.
Thank you.
That's why
you.
I've said that I think Bay Oaks would be a regional park in terms of the features built out to the master concept plan. And and in doing that, you would qualify for the county impact fee money. Or, if Lee County sort of didn't want to set a precedent with the town because they were concerned that they might be hammered by the other municipalities, it is help us financially through another mechanism. It doesn't necessarily have to be impact fee. We don't really care what pocket it comes out of.
Yeah.
Just recognize that people from off the island use the park if we build it out in that fashion.
Actually, that's how they built the swimming pool.
So,
Swimming pool was a regional pool.
but in any event, there's a, Sandelli just got reelected. There's another new person on the commission, and those are discussions that try to pursue as well. And as part of the non-town contribution, I'm not really worried about that side. I'm really worried more about where is the town ready to dip their hands into deep into their pocket for this. That's the open question.
Well, you certainly made great headway in terms of clarifying all the issue about who owns what in terms of the actual property itself.
Yes.
And then working on getting that agreement with the school board for shared space. That's been tremendous headway.
Well, then without that, we couldn't, thank you. No, without that, we couldn't have done any of this.
Exactly.
It was a brilliant swap.
Exactly.
So we made good progress.
And besides the swap, we still have to spend, by the way, part of this money is we have to spend 150,000 plus or minus on improvements for them, but I think it's well worth it for the land that we got.
We gave them what they already had.
Yep, exactly.
So let's remember this is a public meeting, so we'll say they made a great decision.
Well, yeah, that was a great decision.
So my real last message to you as I leave is, if your heavy lift is seeing what commitment you can get from the council to increase the millage over time on whatever can't be fit in phase one. We're going to build as much as we can in phase one with whatever money we have available.
Exactly.
And what that is, as I said earlier, we don't really care. You just, whatever everyone the council tells us to do, that's what we'll do. But frankly, if there's no path forward in phase 2, 3, 4, or 5, and we can talk about it as a mental exercise. If there's not really a commitment,
We're glad there will be. I mean, hopefully, because we'd rather do that than just build something just to throw it down and not even have a pathway.
So basically, what you're saying, Roger, is that yes, your position as town manager is to do the bidding of the council in terms of, your steps forward in terms of implementing. And then ours is sort of as a recommendation from an advisory board. But the whole issue here is with regard to the political will of the current leadership of this town. That's where the rubber hits the road in terms of how visionary are these specific council members, maybe not the ones we had the last time, but this particular council. Good point. I mean, that's where the decisions are ultimately made.
Well, yeah, I think so. But I also, I will tell you that, as was the case, for example, when the town decided to go forward with the major water improvements, the council at that time said, well, let's put it out for referendum. That way, sort of, we don't have to, everyone's for it on day one, and then you get their tax bill, and everyone's kind of whining a little bit. So to insulate themselves against that, they went out with it for a referendum. But at the end of the day, I don't want to sit here and talk to you about phase 3, and I don't see any financial path to phase 3.
Right.
And it'd be disingenuous to do that.
Also, we don't want to throw down something.
Well, I'm not saying you should, I'm not saying that you should accept the, you have no choice but to accept the concept. I'm telling you, you do have a choice. Go advocate for what you want.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your time.
You're welcome.
And figured they were going to move that over for you pretty soon.
I walk barefoot on the weekends.
wrap
I
this
never
up, I
put
have
the
to-
bottom of my foot.
I have to leave very quickly, so.
Wait a minute, Barbara, wait a minute, Barbara.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think that we learned a great deal.
Well,
And
we've got to make a decision what we want to do. What do you want to do? What do you want to recommend? I think Barbara wants to go borrow the whole 20 million.
No, I think first we should get a point across to the council that this master plan is what we want, and we don't want compromises. And so we want the 30% design phase presented by DRMP that includes all of the concept that we agreed upon.
Can they withdraw what they've done?
Of course.
Ask him that. Well, because DRPM or whoever they are, all
Yeah.
has already begun.
No, I think when this conversation started soon after that council meeting where they presented it, it's really sort of stopped right now, is my understanding of it.
You want to withdraw, you want them to withdraw the 30% agreement.
Of what they came up with in October. We want them to go and do the long-range plan based on the conceptual drawing presented by DRMP in August.
in other words, we're not
I think
agreeing
what we're
with,
looking for is actually a solution. We can fetch all we want, but I think right now, in terms of what we need to present to council, is to say, this is what we want you to do. And if that's, presented formally through the report with Lee presenting, or whether that's done through us personally having conversations, again, it has to do with their philosophical vision about how important a park is to them. I think there's the disconnect too, is that, they just don't think it's that important to put 20 million in. They're gonna, grudgingly say 5. But there's the where the rubber hits the road is what is it that they actually think is the best for the community? Are they being fiscally responsible by saying, no, we don't want any more, we don't want to raise taxes? And of course, originally, this first phase was supposed to include an increase in millage. Roger was able to find the funding that didn't require this increase in current millage.
didn't have to.
So he made that happen, but that
Right.
isn't to say
Well,
that.
are we gonna recommend that they increase the millage to do this?
I think that's probably another conversation to have at another time.
I was going to say, I don't
And I
think
think
that would
that's
be
the
appropriate
future
right
for
now.
phase 2 or phase 3. I don't
there's
think
not
that's for phase 1. We first have to take the step back and get back to the original big picture 3-phase project.
Right.
Which we're not at yet. So we got to take a step, stop, go back to that. Now, what does phase 1 look like? It is not that new picture.
Exactly.
What's phase 1 look like? And then phase 2 and phase 3. You
There
know
is
what would
no
be
phase
really
three.
helpful, Sarah? Do you have online the 2 different drawings? I know we've gotten them at different. Could you send us all an email with both of those drawings, the phased drawing and what came out in October,
Yeah.
or August, side by side?
All the different concepts,
No,
or
all,
just the
all we
one?
want, we want
that you
two,
held up.
we want two concepts. We want the latest BRMP conceptual drawing. It's not the, so it's not phased, I mean, it's not phased, obviously.
One building.
And it's not any design. In other words, no design has been done to it. It was a conceptual drawing. That paired with what was presented to council in October, the 30% with the consolidated, those two. If we can get that visual in an email, then we can have that conversation with each of the council members before this Thursday, actually.
Right.
Because that will kind of inform their decision-making.
Right, because I mean, I would definitely go back and, as an addition, here's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that visuals are just so key.
Okay, very good. Well, I think that we have a better handle on that at this point. And
Great suggestion.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how this is presented.
Lee, I'd be happy to share the motions that were discussed during the last meeting, because the one from Barbara Hill, if I should read, Member Hill moved to request from council an opportunity to see an entire plan for Bay Oaks based on their original concept, which DRP showed on the conceptual drawing dated December 2019. They would look at the plans in varying stages based on available funding. Second by Member Holmes, motion passed unanimously. I can share that verbiage with you, Lee, so if you'd like to present it again to council on the 7th.
Email me
Okay.
that.
Will do.
right.
So, but at what point do we get into the finance?
Think later. Vision first, and I'm sorry, I'm
This
going to
has
have
to
to
be
leave.
the first part.
I have another meeting, so I'm going to have to go.
Okay.
25.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Betty. There is 11:30 LPA meeting, so I believe if the board is,
Okay,
want to continue on with the agenda, thank you.
all right. Well, anything board member items that needs to come up at this time? You haven't already expressed? Not. Our next meeting would be January 5th, but I am concerned about next Monday. I knew that I was not going to be able to participate in that. Appreciate Lee saying that he would.
I got to figure out how I'm going to do this.
Try to be here.
We need people at the meeting.
December 7th meeting?
I'm going to go Thursday to
The
M&P
M&P,
meeting, because I think they ought to see faces in the audience.
right?
I think they ought to see us.
And that's here Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
I
at
have
9
a 10
o'clock
a.m.
on,
meeting, but I could try to start at least here at the 9 and then be at 10 a.m. I definitely plan on being at the December 7th meeting.
December 7th, 9 a.m.
yes,
Correct.
yeah. That starts at 9 a.m. and they would have us at the beginning of that meeting. Apologize for not being able to participate in that one. Hey, Lee, appreciate your comments and what you're going to put in there.
Well, I hope you feel the same way after I'm done.
Yeah. So, we know what you've done before and you've been working on
I'm
this.
still perplexed over this.
Don't have
how
a
this
problem
money's
with
being
that at
split
all.
up. I just, that's foreign to me how they did that.
Okay. All right. There's nothing further. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Karen, I'll
Okay,
second.
from Holly,
Holly did that, and Karen Woodson
a second from Karen. I can second that. We're adjourned at 11:19. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Uh-huh.
Betty?
Thank you. It has been,
Where you going?
well, they just replaced my defibrillator on last Tuesday, and I've had, goes off every 4 hours. 4 hours a day. They just got that straightened out yesterday.